Yeah, after collecting books for long enough, I think all of us get some scary books after a certain point in time. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin here, and in this Tag Tuesday, I want to do the Intimidating TBR Book Tag. I wasn't tagged by anyone in particular, but on my homepage and stuff, when I was perusing BookTube and whatnot, I did see a couple videos of this tag, and kind of when I went through it to look for the original creator, a lot of people didn't put it because apparently it's been lost to time somehow. I even went back like a year or two, but it just kind of pops up every couple of months, and then a bunch of people do it, and then it kind of fades off and comes back again and whatnot. So if you do know who created this tag, let me know in the comments down below so I can add it to the video description. But without further ado, I had written down the questions, and I figured I'd just do it, so let's just go. Question number one, what book have you been unable to finish? Now, I don't do a lot of like super negativity on my channel and stuff, and even just like DNFing. I don't really do a whole lot of DNFing just because I usually pre-vet my nonfiction books, so I already kind of know what I'm getting into for the most part. But yeah, my absolute worst book, like I said, I'm not gonna put the cover of the author and stuff, but it was reported to me to be like a history of Troy, which it kind of was. However, I thought the premise of the book was that it was Heinrich Schliemann Troy that he discovered in Troy and Anatolia, and as known as the site of Troy and whatnot, is incorrect. And I was like, oh, I'm open-minded. I'll read it. I thought it was just gonna be like kind of another site somewhere out there in or Turkey, I guess nowadays, but in Anatolia. Nope, it ended up being basically the entire Trojan War, Trojan history of Troy, all the figures associated in the Homeric epics and stuff were all actually in Britain. And it was like the weirdest pseudo history. I read like the first 100 pages. I don't know. I don't know what that was probably too far. You can't take it seriously like after a certain point. And it wasn't even like a joke or anything. It was just everything in the when you read Homer, it was actually in England, and I was just like, what? So I ended up not finishing it, and I don't really feel bad about it. So I apologize if that author somehow sees it, but I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. Question number two. What book have you not read just because you haven't had the time? All right, so I'm going to go with kind of a series here, but right here we got, I think this is the smallest book in the series. We got The Life of Greece by Will and Ariel Durant. This is, I think, the second book in the Story of Civilization series. And there's, I think, 11, or I have at least 11. I don't know if there's a 12th one. However, this one I think is just around 700 pages, and I believe this is the shortest. Let's see, The Age of Reason might be a little bit shorter. I'm not 100% sure, but the average around 1,000 pages, and with 11-ish titles, we're talking what, 10,000 pages around, somewhere in that ballpark. I don't know, I just don't got the time. That's gotta be a third of, that's 4 or 5 months of reading for me. Especially since it's probably gonna be fairly dense, though I heard it's really readable, and they are really good writers. I did read The Story of Philosophy, really did enjoy that. However, as far as the history and stuff, I do know some of the themes and kind of I guess general concepts that they were kind of going with for their sort of broad sweeps of history are kind of inconsistent with kind of the information stuff we have nowadays with 100 years of research and discoveries in archaeology and whatnot. So I just don't feel like having to parse through things to unlearn wrong stuff and kind of go back and forth, if that makes any sense. From a historiographical standpoint, I probably should read at least one, and this probably would be the one, not just because it's the shortest, but because it is the Greek one. Probably this one in Caesar and Christ, which is the Roman history volume essentially. Those would be the two I'd probably read. But yeah, like I just said, 11 volumes, and this is the smallest. This is a door stopper in itself, and it's the smallest one. It's just, yeah, I just don't. Ain't nobody got time for that. All right, question number three. What's a book that you haven't read because it's a sequel? All right, so I got. Where did I put it? I had it somewhere in here. Wow, where did it go? Hold on 1 second. Alright, I'm back. Apparently I didn't put it in my pile for some reason. But we have here The Archidamian War by Donald Kagan. And he is probably like the world-renowned, the most world-renowned historian on the Peloponnesian War, which is the famous Greek war between Sparta and Athens. I read his first one here a long time ago, The Outbreak of the Peloponnesian War. And it's a 4-volume set here. I think the Peace of Nicias is the third one, and the last one is like the fall of the Athenian Empire. And it's really good, super detailed, lots of great sources, everything's noted, this, that, and the other thing. But I just, yeah, it was such a deep dive, I almost feel like I don't know if I really want to do that big of a deep dive, unless I'm like, I don't know, for some reason, it's just a little bit too much. I don't mind military histories, I just feel like they kind of overshadow everything. And like I said, it's just so detailed. I mean, I might actually like speed read it one time, not 100% sure. He does have like a 1-volume actual, like just kind of regular, I guess, layperson's history of the Peloponnesian War that kind of condenses all of it into one big volume anyways. That'd probably be the one I'd go for, to be honest. But yeah, it's a sequel. There's not, like, I think that question's more aimed at, like, fiction readers and whatnot, but yeah, I guess this was, like, one of the, I only had, like, a couple in it. I guess the Story of Civilization was a sequel, too, or I guess a series with a sequel, but never read the first one. Alright, let's go on to the next question. What is a book that you have that you have not read yet because it's brand new? Alright, so when this tag comes out, I think on Tuesday, if I actually can get it up by Tuesday, I think that's the actual published date of this one right here, The Demon of Unrest, a saga of hubris, heartbreak, heroism at the dawn of the Civil War by Eric Larson. So if I can actually get this out on time, it would be like the literal published date of it. So I've only had it for a couple days actually, as an art from Crown Publishing. So thank you so much to them for sending that over to me. Yeah, that's the only reason I haven't read it yet is, like I said, I've been trying to branch out. I love how I just said, you know, as I've been saying, I didn't say it yet in this video, but in the other videos I recorded today, I've been trying to branch out and read more modern-ish history, but apparently my theme this year is the 19th century and the 1800s for some reason. Usually like medieval period, I just kind of drop off a cliff. But yeah, I've read already, what, two or three books in the 1800s, so I feel good just kind of keeping the rhythm going. So this one will hopefully be read here early on in May, or actually no, the second half of May, because Springathon is the first half. Alright, next question. What do we got here? We got, what is a book that you haven't read because it's by the same author of another book and you didn't enjoy that one? So I got this ultra massive, silly book called God's War, His New History of the Crusades by Christopher Tyerman. Everyone's told me it's good. I thought, you know, back in the day when I wanted, like, you know, a general best overview of all the Crusades, you know, this one always popped up. Granted, it's also like 1,000 pages. Yeah, it's literally just under 1,000 pages. Don't know if I really care about the Crusades that much to read that much. I did read Christopher Tyerman's the Oxford Very Short Introduction books that I like to bring up. I read his one on the Crusades, which, you know, did I put it at the top? Yes, I do have it on the top still. I read this one by the same author, and I didn't really like it. I thought this one was kind of one of the not so great Oxford Very Short Introductions, which makes me go, oh no. Like, probably if he had like this much room, it's probably a lot better. But on the off chance it's not, I don't want to just get like 400 pages into this, not even be halfway, and just like not really enjoying it. So that's why I'm not really sure why I've been keeping it. It is a nice book. It looks good on the shelf and everything. It's just, I don't know, it makes me nervous for sure. Question number 5. What is a book that you haven't read because you're just not in the mood for it? So there's a whole bunch of them. I got this one right here. It's by an author that's super well renowned, Mark Kurlansky, who became super famous for all his different micro histories. I think his first one that really blew up was Cod. And I just love the cover here on paper, paging through history. Just super lovely, just the color, everything about it. And I kind of want to read it, but I just never feel in the mood for reading about paper and papyri and stuff like that, especially when it's like, it's fairly long. I mean, it's not like crazy long, but I think it's like 300 pages of text. But theoretically, right, it's a history of paper, maybe a history of books too. like I guess bookmaking, which like I said, it sounds interesting because I collect books, I have a library, this, that, and the other thing. But like whenever it gets down to, I think I put this on my TBR like 3 or 4 times, and it's usually just kind of makes its way to the bottom, and I never make my way through the entire TBR. And I think it's just because I'm afraid it's going to be boring, just because of the nature of the topic. Even if it is interesting, I don't know, it probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it's just like I said, it's just one I never feel really up to reading, even though I vaguely always kind of want to read and kind of feel like I should read, and it'd be kind of helpful just because like all the, just being part of like the bookish, ether and stuff with papers. So yeah, I figured that would be a good one for that one. All right, let's see. Question number 7. What is a book that you haven't read simply because it's humongous? And that'd probably be this one right here, The Bully Pulpit, Theodore Roosevelt, William Howard Taft, and the Golden Age of Journalism by Doris Kearns Goodwin. She did win the Pulitzer Prize for, I think, I don't know, was it this one that actually won the Pulitzer Prize? It might have been. She's written books on a bunch of different presidents and stuff, and super highly regarded. I have a little bit of a Theodore Roosevelt shelf and everything. Yeah, she's written books on Franklin Roosevelt, one on Lincoln, Lyndon Johnson, but Kennedy's. But I think this one is what, 800 pages, something like that. Yeah, it's 900 pages with the footnotes, so I think it's about 800 pages of text. And like, I like Theodore Roosevelt, but I've already read like 2 out of 3 of Edmund Morris's like 800-page books that are all like a trilogy of biographies on him. And this one is just like kind of focusing a lot on like newspapers and journalism and muckraking during kind of the Gilded Age. And I'm like, oh, it sounds kind of good, but it's also really long. Like kind of that topic, which doesn't interest me as much as like some of the other aspects of his life per se. So yeah, it's probably really, really good. And I'm just like, if it was like 300 pages shorter, I probably would have read it by now. We'll see. Like I said, I do kind of feel like I want to read a lot of like the Theodore Roosevelt stuff, but I had put this up for option on my March of the Mammoths kind of like poll, and it did lose, so I think it came in last. I can't remember if it actually came in last, but Soviet Century definitely won, and then I read the other one, and I just did not have the stamina for like a third one that month, so we ended up not reading it. So maybe we keep it around till March 2025 for that version, or that edition of March of the Mammoths. We shall see. Alright, number 8. What was a book that you haven't read that was a cover by that turned out to have poor reviews? So here was like just one I didn't know too much about when I picked it up. I think it was only like $1 or $2 at a used bookstore or something or other. I'm actually not even 100% sure. And I don't think the cover's like super mind-blowing, but I just like the idea of it and the title. We got How the Dog Became the Dog, From Wolves to Our Best Friends by Mark Durr, who's like a historian of like dogs and canines and stuff. So it sounds great. But apparently, yeah, I think this was, at one point in time, it was like one of my only books that was like below like 3 stars on Goodreads, which, it doesn't always like mean anything, but that was kind of like vaguely always in the back of my mind. I just haven't seen anything like super crazy about it. And then like after like reading through like the little blurbs on the back of the synopses, I didn't recognize any of the authors. So I was like, I don't know. Just it is like one of the only books I could think of for this one that was just like actually, like I said, usually I do pre-vet them, but obviously if I'm in like a used bookstore, I don't quite always do that per se, but especially if I haven't like recognized the author and stuff. But like I said, I probably will at some point because it's not too long. It's just, I don't know, it just fit the prompt pretty good. All right, and then question number 9. What is the most intimidating book on your TBR pile? All right, so the Soviet Century over here used to be my most intimidating book. Soviet Century Archaeology of a Lost World by Karl Schlöger, and this is translated, I think, from the German, and it's all about like a social history of the people of the Soviet Union, and I think it clocked in at like 900 pages, or just under 900 pages, but this actually turned out to be not that bad. I read about half of it during March, and I finished the other half this month, so I'm really proud that I actually finished that here. But so now I had to I went through like my shelves to find what's my next most intimidating book. And I didn't want to pick one just because it was long per se. I felt like this pile already had like a ton of long ones. But for like where I'm vaguely getting the pretentious idea of like studying philosophy on my own again, I did find some on my bottom shelf that I forgot I had almost. And we got here. I love the pre-Socratic, so like kind of the weird natural historian, natural philosophers before, you know, the sophist and Socrates and that kind of era. You know, you have starting with like Thales and his pupil, well, probably his pupils like Anaximander and Anaximenes. You got Empedocles, Heraclitus, Democritus, a bunch of really cool guys. But we got the giants of pre-sophistic Greek philosophy, and it's like in 2 volumes. And it just sounds like right up my alley, but like after kind of like perusing it a little bit, I think I almost like need to know a little bit of Greek, just to like understand half of what's going on here, just because there's a lot of quotes directly from the fragmentary source material, but even when they're not doing the source material per se, there's just like Greek words thrown in there, and I can like recognize just a couple just from like other stuff that I've read, and I don't know, you just kind of pick up on it a little bit, but you know, I feel like I almost like need to like understand like more. I'm not even sure how I like would study to prepare for it, but like I said, they got like sections on Heraclitus, you got sections on like Anaxagoras, all that kind of stuff, and I just, like I said, I feel like Xenophanes, I just feel like I need to know a little bit more of the like principles and like just kind of the general framework of these guys, and then maybe like have like a little Greek like lexicon going, so when they throw in like suke or arche, I can like recognize it like instantly, just for even if I can't read Greek or anything like that. I would have tried to learn Greek if like, you know, any school or college within like driving distance would teach it, but no, I live in the middle of nowhere, so of course there's no Greek teachers and stuff. But anyways, those were my answers for this one. Before I go on to tagging a few people, leave a comment down below about your scariest or most intimidating book on your TBR that you have on your shelves that you want to get to at some point. Not sure if I'm going to be up to reading it, but I'm always on the lookout for recommendations. And some of the bigger kind of, like I said, scarier books, like the Soviet Century, actually became really good, or it turned out to be really well done, and I just really enjoyed it, so you never know. Alright, so I'm going to tag 6 people, and these are all people that have tagged me in the past like month or two, and I still haven't gotten around to doing their tags yet, so I want them to feel the pain and intimidation of like having a tag like on the back of their minds and stuff. Just know I do have them written down on a big list here, and I'm just slowly whittling my way through them. Alright, so we got Pat over at Book Chats with Pat, Alex at Alex Unabridged, David at David Novak Reads Poetry, Emma at A Cup of Books, Al at Big Hard Books and Classics, and Ross at Scally Dandling About the Books. So there you have it. That was the Intimidating TBR Book Tag. Like I said, leave a comment down below about what you find most scary and whether you're reading an intimidating book or not. Always remember, read victoriously.